Hi everyone, hope you're all well. First thing I really have to get out of the way is there will probably be bird noises in the background and I can't do anything about that, so sorry, we're just gonna have to deal with it. We're back again with part 6 of my Ireland-inspired region, Balladry. If you've been watching up to this point, I just want to say a massive thank you for sticking with it so far and for all of the support that you've been giving me. I really appreciate it, so thank you. There's a random mixture of designs in this one, but after the first few, I'll be excited to introduce you to the Eeveelutions of this region. So if you like those, just hang tight. Also, if you want to know the program I'm using for the cries, it's going to be in the description. On top of that, I sometimes use Audacity for editing the sounds too. So I hope that helps. Now let's get into the video. The first Pokemon I want to look at is one that I thought about ages ago and couldn't figure out how I wanted to actually design it. Ireland isn't particularly known for its dragons, and there really aren't many throughout Irish folklore and mythology, so I thought a good excuse to kind of elbow a dragon into the Pokédex would be a reference to the Dragon of Shandon, which is an annual event in Cork City during Samhain. It started in 2006 and involves multiple communities and artists coming together to create a celebration that is visually impressive while still honouring the occasion of our world and the spirit world intertwining at that time of the year. I couldn't find any particular reason why it was a dragon puppet that was chosen as the main attraction, but it's a massive skeletal dragon that breathes smoke, and it's incredibly well made. It's really one of the primary events that people really look forward to for Halloween celebrations in Cork. Shandon itself is an area of Cork City and is well known for its four-faced clock tower, which is called St. Anne's Church. You'd often see logos or images of it as part of the representation of the city. So I knew that with all of these various elements, it would basically be a spooky dragon and would be best as a dragon and ghost type. I did hum and haw a bit over making it a fire type because I also initially had the idea that it would evolve from a will-o'-the-wisp, which is usually depicted as a little ball of light or fire. These spirits appear in folklore as these lights, leading people away or luring them out into potentially dangerous surroundings. In the end, I thought it'd be better if this Pokemon was just a single stage, but I could still incorporate parts of my original plan into it. I've decided that just for this video, I'm going to give you a peek into my sketchbook as I work through some of these designs. I post all of these concepts for my monthly supporters on Ko-fi, so if you'd be interested in keeping up with them and seeing my ideas before they're finalised, or just general things I'm working on, please feel free to check it out. I'll leave a link in the description as well. The name is a mashup of sham, as in something false, dragon and Shandon. So here is Shamgan, the illusory light Pokemon, dragon and ghost. Shamgan appear rarely in the wild, but are greatly attracted to festivals and joyous events. They can sometimes be seen shyly peeking around buildings as they long to join in. While they appear to be made of flames, the body is merely an illusion created by the main wisp, in an attempt to intimidate or dissuade enemies. I can imagine a little side quest you could activate where people in the city that's based on Cork would be fearful of the scary ghost that's appearing at the top of a nearby clock tower as they're getting ready for some festival, and they ask you to go check it out. It turns out to just be a Shamgan who's excitedly watching from afar and that desperately wants to take part, so you could bring it down and help it join in, easing the fears of the people while giving the Pokemon a chance to enjoy being involved. Then once everything is finished, the Pokemon gives you an opportunity to catch it. Some of my side quest ideas are ones that could be started at any point, so I imagine being able to catch a Shamgan early game would be really cool. Next up is a Pokemon that I tried to find a design I was satisfied with, but kind of feel like in the end I just needed to get it down and be done with it. Based on the karst landscape of the Burren, an area in West Ireland which seems to include the famous Aran Islands as an extension of it, as they're also made of the same limestone that occurs on the mainland. This area is part of the Gaeltacht, where people still mostly speak Irish as a first language, which, thank God for them, because the common usage of the language has sadly declined a lot. Hopefully it'll have a rebirth as our primary language again in the future. The Aran Islands themselves, I think, are mostly well known for their production of woolen Aran jumpers, and they consist of 3 individual islands, Inishmore, Inishman and Inisheer. So all this to say that I really wanted to make a sheep Pokemon that's so united with this landscape that it's become part of it, or is maybe even the reason for its appearance. And then on top of that, it might be the inspiration for clothing or something. First we have Lambston, the lamb Pokemon, rock and grass. Lambston can be found frolicking through the rocky landscape of West Balladry, though how they're able to prance so effortlessly is a mystery, as their dirt-compressed wool makes them quite heavy. Its tail, however, has the texture of a thick, waxy leaf. They like to eat rocks, and are often distinguishable from each other from their dental flaws. Its name is obviously a poor mashup of lamb and stone, but It also kind of sounds like limestone if you squint. The next Pokemon I really wanted to call Baron, but I thought that might be a little bit too on the nose. This is where I started thinking that the patterns and colour variations of Earth strata could be a good way to incorporate the idea that clothing could be inspired by this Pokemon. And I do like that concept, I just don't think I did it justice. You get the idea anyway, and if I were to redraw this Pokemon in the future, I'd definitely figure out a better way to flesh out that idea. So here we have Karstram, the strata Pokemon, rock and grass. A Karstram's approach can almost be felt before it's seen, as the immense weight of its rock-like wool makes its slow, lumbering steps shake the ground. They're incorrectly described as patient Pokemon. The truth is that, by nature, they're aggressive and territorial, but since they can't move quickly to assert themselves, must resign to just letting things go. The patterns of their strata have inspired fashionable clothing lines. I'm on the fence about this design. I like it in some ways and not in others. The name is kind of crap, but like I said, I just wanted to get it done. Next we have a line that I've wanted to use ever since I first saw it in the 1997 Spaceworld demo leaks of the beta sprites for Pokemon Gold and Silver. A lot of the baby sprites stood out to me for how round and adorable they were, but there was one in particular that I was actively bummed about not being in the game, and that was Tangela's baby form. And not just that, but its old evolution too. I mean, look at how cheeky this little brat is. So yes, this line is utter theft, and I did not come up with these myself, but I did really want to recycle them into something that could work in balladry. The first idea that I had was inspired by thorns and briars, but there was something a bit boring about that. Eventually I turned to gorse, which is this extremely spiny bush plant which bursts into clusters of yellow flowers. They also smell really strongly of coconut, which I personally really love. I read that these plants are coated with oils that make them burn super fast, but they also regrow and recover exceptionally fast from it too. So this was the jumping off point for my concept. Yes, they are still initially grass type, but it will gain another. First we have Tangabab, the little thorn Pokemon. Tangabab hide out in the overgrowth that borders fields and roadsides, scurrying into it when they sense something approach. They quietly watch passing trainers from the bushes before excitedly resuming their play with each other. It then evolves, of course, into Tangela, the vine Pokemon, grass type. These Pokemon gather in groups to relax together and absorb the sun's rays, the yellow flowers on their bodies growing hot to the touch. Because of the oils coating their thorns, they're also extremely flammable and easily burst into flames while sunbathing. Poor Tangela. It's not a Pokemon that ever really stayed on my radar much. I do always forget about it. It is cute, but this beta evolution is one that I really regret not being in the game. It's not that I dislike Tangrowth, but this one just had more personality, I think. Anyway, this is Tangelex, the spiny Pokemon, grass and fire type. As Balladry and Tangela frequently burst into flames from overheating, their bodies adapt and recover more quickly each time. Upon evolution into Tangelex, they become completely immune to fire, even gaining the ability to wield it. They release a pleasant scent when they ignite their flowers. Tangelex are fiercely protective of the environment and attack people who litter or vandalise it. The name adds Ulex to it, which is just an alternative name for gorse. That was a bit of a race through those ones, but I love this line a lot. I think I definitely would have used Tangela a lot more if this is what its evolution process had been like. So now, at last we come to our Eeveelutions. I teased 2, but I actually have 3. The only issues I have with coming up with Eeveelutions is that, as far as I could tell with looking things up and my own interpretations of previous designs, there doesn't seem to be any concrete references to specific folklores or origins with any of them. They all could be from this and that, but in the end it looks like each evolution is just a basic representation of the element they're based on. That might have been a super obvious conclusion, but I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing any information on them or anything, so that I could at least follow some sort of pattern if there was one. The types I chose are ones that I actually designed years ago and still really like, so I thought why not just repurpose them again for this region. I won't show you the original drawings because that would spoil it, but I liked how they all were so much already that I really didn't change many details for them at all. Instead, I wanted to focus on their distinct personalities, which can essentially be boiled down to what could be considered the most basic emotions: fear, joy, and anger. First is the ghost type, which I wanted to design as something quiet and nervous, hiding under its fur and disappearing through obstacles when it needed to get away. I think that the idea of a ghost that is afraid itself is quite cute and funny. Its name comes from phasing, like passing from one phase to another, from life to death or physical matter to energetic. Also to phase, like to catch someone off guard or cause them to become uncomfortable or frightened. This is then Phaseion, the shifting Pokemon, Ghost type. When an Eevee is trained in areas of balladry that closely border the otherworld, they evolve into Phaseion. This Pokemon is shy, and if frightened, will pass through walls to escape. Touching its mane will fill the individual's head with upsetting imagery, even if it's unrelated to their own experiences. I've mentioned the otherworld many times by this point, and I think now's a good time to expand on my ideas about its inclusion in balladry. Indo-European folklore and mythologies often refer to the otherworld, which is the home of the supernatural, another layer of existence or reality that humans can't access, while the entities inside can often cross over into ours. This is where festivals like Samhain come into play. As mentioned earlier, it's the time of the year when the distinction between both worlds thins the most, so bonfires are lit to keep evil spirits at bay while inviting and paying tribute to those that are good. The Irish otherworld might be best known as Tír na nÓg, or the Land of Youth, as well as Mag Mell, meaning Plain of Delight. Many natural structures are then believed to be doorways to this otherworld. They might be the arc of a branch that comes to the ground, or an archway made of fallen rocks, but they're usually some kind of unusual and magical looking entrance. These doorways appear throughout balladry too, each one different in appearance to the others, so that their true nature would have always gone undiscovered, and fairy types can use them to freely come in and out from the otherworld into the region. My idea is that 2 of them would be discovered through the main storyline, and another 3 would be up to the player to find on their own, based on clues or investigation. Environmental art isn't really my forte, so hopefully these drawings will give you an idea of how they could appear. Only fairy types are able to move in and out of the otherworld, so in order to access it, as certain Pokemon would appear exclusively inside, you'd have to have a fairy type Pokemon in your party. Anyway, they would always be in secluded areas with lots of wild Pokemon around, so training an Eevee in one of these areas would trigger its evolution into Phaseion. Imagine training it in a random spot and it evolves like this, so you'd know there was a doorway nearby. I think that'd be fun. Next we have the flying evolution. This is probably the most on-the-nose design of the 3, but I just always really love the idea of it simply getting wings for ears. I've also seen so many other designs making it sky blue, but I really love the idea of it flying with the sun reflecting off of its fur and making it look golden. I kept the blue as a shiny anyway because it does look good. This is Wendion, the freedom Pokemon, flying type. Wendion are incredibly happy creatures, fully embodying unrestraint and jubilance. They love nothing more than to glide, twist and turn in the air, often getting carried away and flying out of their trainer's line of sight. Eevee surrounded by flying types will enthusiastically evolve into this Pokemon. So by this last sentence, I mean that you would need 3 flying types in your party while leveling up your Eevee, which would then cause its evolution into Wendion. They can be any flying types, so they could be 3 Pidgey, or they could be a Gyarados, a Ninjask and a Skyplate Arceus. The name comes from the Proto-Indo-European wend, which, according to etymology.com, means to turn, wind or weave, as well as the actual word wind. Last but not least is our first poison type of the region, which is surprising, but good to have it at last, I guess. I remember when I first designed this Pokemon years ago, thinking it would be cool if it had an almost porcupine look, but like it had become nasty and garish. So, of course, it's very spiky and kiki-ish, since in my mind the sting of poison or venom translates to that jagged sort of imagery. This is Obnoxion, the loathsome Pokemon, poison type. Obnoxion lives up to its name and purposely causes much trouble for their trainers, being difficult to get under control. Even lightly touching one of its spines will send anyone or anything into near immediate paralytic shock, which could last months if not treated quickly. If this Pokemon finds its victim pathetic or annoying, it'll take great pleasure in their affliction. It's unknown why Obnoxion's nature changes so drastically upon evolution, but the theory is that its mind is affected by its own poison, shutting down the areas of the brain which allow for compassion. This would be the easiest evolution to get, as it would only require that Eevee hold a poison barb item during level up. That way each evolution for Eevee has a different method of acquiring it. And there we go. Once again, we're at the end. I hope you enjoyed these designs and I'd love to know if you take any of them onto your teams. If you didn't like them, then well, obviously I'm joking. Just again, a quick reminder that I do have a Ko-fi shop where I sell Pokemon stickers and I also sell other little bits like prints. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you also so much for watching, as it's always massively appreciated. Hope you have a great day or night and all the best until the next video. Bye!